boomers are back to counting pennies, and no, this isn't what you think. This isn't about cheap old people refusing to tip. This is about watching the generation that invented comfortable retirement get financially body slammed back to 1953. I'm talking about people who followed every rule, saved in their 401ks, bought their houses, did everything right, now clipping coupons like they're trying to survive the depression their parents warned them about. Here's what nobody's saying out loud. Right now, 11,000 Americans are turning 65 every single day. That's 4 million boomers hitting retirement age every year until 2027. And according to Vanguard's research from last November, only 40% of 61 to 65-year-olds are actually on track for retirement. The other 60%? They're facing a $9,000 annual deficit. That's a 24% shortfall in what they need to maintain their current lifestyle. Translation: the majority of us are looking at retirement the way you'd look at a car you can't afford to fix, but can't afford to replace either. Let me tell you what's really happening here, and I'm going to explain this through something I call the 3-cushion theory. Imagine retirement was supposed to be like sitting on a couch with 3 cushions. You've got your pension, that's cushion 1. You've got your savings and 401k, that's cushion 2. And you've got Social Security, cushion 3. Our parents' generation sat down on all 3 cushions and they were comfortable. They retired at 62, traveled, lived well, but here's what happened to us. Cushion 1 basically disappeared. Only 14% of Gen Xers have traditional pensions compared to 56% of boomers. But even for us boomers, especially the younger ones, we caught the pension system right as it was dying. We entered our peak earning years in the 80s and 90s just as companies were switching from pensions to 401ks. So we got neither the full benefit of the old system nor enough time in the new one. Now, cushion 2, your 401k and savings, that should have picked up the slack, right? Except here's the reality check. The median boomer has about $120,000 saved for retirement. Sounds decent until you do the math. To retire comfortably, most financial advisors say you need $1.1 million minimum. So, if you're 60 years old right now with $120,000 saved, you'd need to save $196,000 every single year for the next 5 years. On what planet is that happening? And roughly 1 in 5 people over 59 don't even have a retirement account at all. They're sitting on 0 cushions. But here's where it gets really interesting. We kept hearing, oh, but Social Security will cover the basics. Social Security, cushion 3, the safety net. As of January 2025, the average monthly Social Security check is $1,976. That's about $24,000 a year. Now, Social Security was only ever designed to replace about 40% of your pre-retirement income, which means it assumes you have the other 60% covered. But 60% of boomers don't. So they're trying to live on that $24,000 a year. And spoiler alert, assisted living costs $72,000 a year on average. A nursing home is $131,000. Do that math. So you're sitting on a couch that's missing 2 cushions, and the 1 cushion you do have is lumpy and insufficient. That's the position most boomers are in right now. And the response? They're not retiring. They can't. Almost 59% of boomers are delaying retirement because of financial stress, according to a 2025 employee behavior report. Not because they love their job so much they can't imagine leaving, because they're terrified. 24% of people aged 55 to 64 are working full-time right now. That's up from 18% a decade ago. And here's the dark joke hiding in that statistic. When researchers asked working people over 65 why they're still employed, about 2/3 said it's because they have to, not because they want to. This generation that literally created the concept of comfortable early retirement is now working into their 70s, not out of passion, but out of survival. Let me give you a concrete scenario. Meet Linda. She's 63, worked as a teacher for 38 years, has $140,000 in her 401k, owns a home with $113,000 in equity. that's the average by the way, and gets about $1,700 a month in Social Security. Sounds stable on paper, but Linda's mortgage isn't paid off. She's still supporting her 30-year-old son who's drowning in student loans. Her healthcare costs before Medicare kicks in are $600 a month. And groceries? She's spending about $700 monthly now, up from $500 2 years ago because food prices jumped almost 30% since 2020. So Linda sits down one Sunday afternoon to run the numbers. She needs about $45,000 a year minimum to maintain her current lifestyle. Social Security gives her $20,400. Her 401k, if she's careful, might generate another $5,000 annually without depleting it too fast. That's $25,400. She's short $19,600 every year. So Linda, who planned to retire this year, just told her principal she's staying on another 4 years minimum. And she's praying nothing goes wrong in those 4 years because 40% of retirees end up leaving the workforce earlier than planned due to health problems or layoffs. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Bobby, but boomers own their homes, they've got all that equity, they're sitting on wealth. 86% of boomers do own homes. Average equity, $113,000. And yeah, that sounds like a pile of money until you realize that's not liquid. You can't buy groceries with home equity unless you sell the house or take out a reverse mortgage. And if you sell, where are you going to live? Average rent in a halfway decent area is pushing $2,000 a month. So that home equity isn't really a cushion, it's an illusion of security. And now here's the second escalation. The daily budget shrink. Boomers are cutting back on everything, and I mean everything. 92% of Americans cut spending in 2025, including essentials like groceries and healthcare. Boomers who used to buy name brands are switching to store brands. They're meal planning like it's a military operation. They're shopping at Aldi and Walmart instead of their usual stores because a single percentage point of savings matters now. They're not going out to eat, they're canceling subscriptions, they're holding on to cars longer, some are taking on side gigs at 68 years old, driving for rideshare companies. This is what counting pennies actually looks like at scale. It's not being cheap, it's optimization born from necessity. When Social Security barely covers housing and food costs have jumped almost 3% in the last year alone, every dollar gets scrutinized. The same generation that spent freely in the 90s is now checking grocery store circulars and using coupons they would have been embarrassed by 10 years ago. You think this is just about budgeting? Let me give you the third escalation, the psychological cost. Financial stress isn't just about numbers on a screen. It's about anxiety that follows you everywhere. Boomers who expected to retire by a certain age are facing disappointment, frustration, even shame. They did everything they were told to do. They worked hard. They saved, sort of. They bought houses. And now they're looking at their 60s and 70s and thinking, I should be on a beach somewhere, not bagging groceries. The fear of outliving your savings, of becoming a burden on your kids, of losing your independence because you can't afford assisted living, that stuff is heavy. And workplaces aren't exactly set up for 70-year-olds in demanding jobs. So you've got people burning out, experiencing decreased job satisfaction, but unable to quit because the alternative is worse. Many boomers are literally choosing between medication and food, between heating their homes and paying for insurance. This is third world problem solving happening in the richest country in history. And here's the fourth escalation, the systemic domino effect. When millions of boomers can't afford to retire or have to drastically cut spending, that doesn't just hurt them, it ripples through the entire economy. Reduced consumer spending means businesses suffer. If boomers are cutting back on restaurants, travel, entertainment, all the industries that rely on that discretionary spending take a hit. Some economists are literally sounding alarm bells about a retirement crisis that could drag down economic growth. Plus, boomers staying in the workforce longer means fewer job openings for younger generations. Gen X and millennials are sitting there waiting for promotions and leadership roles that never open up because 68-year-old Bob can't afford to leave. It's creating a traffic jam in the labor market. And young people see this happening to their parents, and they're opening retirement accounts at 19 now. Gen Z learned the lesson. Boomers are learning too late. The system won't save you. You have to save yourself. But here's the kicker. The thing that makes this entire situation almost darkly comedic. We were sold a lie. The whole work hard, save some money in your 401k, retire comfortably at 65 narrative was based on assumptions that stopped being true 20 years ago. It assumed pensions would stick around. It assumed 401ks would grow steadily without major crashes. It assumed housing would be affordable. It assumed healthcare costs wouldn't explode. It assumed you wouldn't be helping your adult children financially well into their 30s. Every single assumption broke, and the financial services industry kept selling the same advice like nothing changed. Save 10% of your income and you'll be fine. Except when wages haven't kept up with inflation, when one recession wipes out years of savings, when the cost of everything from groceries to healthcare doubles, saving 10% of not enough money still leaves you with not enough money. The math stopped working, but nobody updated the playbook. Let me tell you about the comparison that breaks this wide open. The average boomer over 65 spends about $61,432 annually, according to Federal Reserve data. That's their current lifestyle cost. Now, with Social Security giving them around $24,000 and median savings around $120,000, they'd need that savings to last potentially 20 to 30 years in retirement because we're living longer now. Run those numbers. $120,000 divided by the deficit of roughly $37,000 per year after Social Security, they run out of money in 3 years. 3 years. So, what are the actual options? Let's be brutally honest. Option 1, work longer. Every extra year you delay retirement helps 3 ways. You're saving more, you're letting your 401k grow, and you're reducing the number of retirement years you need to fund. Vanguard found that working just 2 extra years could get another 12.5% of near retirees back on track. It's not fun, but it's math. If you're 63 and can push to 67, your Social Security payment increases and your savings have more time. But, and this is a big but, 40% of retirees don't get to make that choice. They get forced out by layoffs or health issues. So planning to work longer is a strategy that only works until it doesn't. It's like planning to keep driving a car that might break down any day. Option 2, tap into home equity. This is the wild card for 86% of boomers. You could sell and downsize. Take that $113,000 of equity and supplement your income. Or you could do a reverse mortgage, which is basically the bank buying your house from you slowly while you live there. This can work, but it's also giving up your biggest asset. And if you need long-term care later, you might need that home equity to pay for it. So it's robbing future you to pay present you. Option 3, and this is the one nobody wants to hear, cut spending dramatically. We're not talking about skipping Starbucks. We're talking about moving to a lower cost of living area, getting a smaller apartment, changing your entire lifestyle. Some boomers are doing this right now, leaving expensive cities, moving to states with no income tax, radically downsizing. It works, but it means accepting a completely different retirement than the one you imagined. And here's the practical stuff nobody's really talking about. First, if you're still working, maximize every possible tax-advantaged account. As of 2026, if you're over 50, you can contribute an extra $8,000 to your 401k. If you're 60 to 63, there's a super catch-up that lets you contribute up to $11,250 extra. That's free money from the tax man that most people aren't using. Second, delay Social Security as long as possible. Every year you wait past your full retirement age until 70, your monthly payment increases by about 8%. That's guaranteed return. If you can possibly swing it, wait until 70. That difference between claiming at 62 versus 70 is nearly double the monthly payment for the rest of your life. Third, get ruthlessly honest about expenses. Not tomorrow, today. Track every single dollar for 3 months. You'll find money leaking everywhere. Subscriptions you forgot about, convenience purchases, inefficient shopping. The boomers who are making it work are the ones treating their budget like a business treats a profit and loss statement. Every expense has to justify itself. So here we are, the generation that created the modern retirement dream, watching that dream dissolve. And the brutal truth is, most boomers aren't going to magically fix this. The math is too far gone for too many people. What we're really looking at is a fundamental reshaping of what retirement means. It might not be stopping work at 65 anymore. It might be shifting to part-time work, or gig work, or consulting. It might be living more modestly than we planned. It might be working until our bodies literally won't let us anymore. The big lesson, and this is what younger generations are already learning, is that you can't outsource your financial security to a system that's already failing. The 3-cushion couch our parents had, it's gone. If you want a comfortable retirement, you better start building your own furniture, and you better start now. Because waiting until you're 60 to figure this out, that's how you end up counting pennies at 70, wondering where everything went wrong. The system didn't protect boomers. It sure as hell won't protect you.